Over the last 30 years, the range of the smallmouth bass has exploded across the U.S. and Canada. Along the way, these feisty fighters have earned the respect of many anglers. Their aggressive nature, elusive attributes, and straightforward pulling power has lured many southern anglers into the very heart of smallmouth bass country. Ontario's Quetico region is a veritable wonderland filled with these fish, both numbers and size, a place that ranks among the very top smallmouth waters on the entire continent. Today, on The Edge, Al and Dan Lindner head north to Sunset Country with one goal front and center, and that is to boat some big old bronzebacks. Watch as they roam the shallows to a bit deeper, working flats, humps, points, islands, and all forms of rocky structure in search of one of Canada's most prized rewards, ravenous and rod bending, smallies into Quetico.
And you got it all to yourself. Pretty sweet, ain't it?
Closed captioning is provided by Smooth Moves, adjustable boat seat suspensions for a smoother ride.
Nano, it doesn't get any better than this. Okay, here's the deal. I've got a jerkbait, a topwater, a soft plastic jerkbait, and a swimming boot tail. Dan's got a hair jig, he's got a tube, he's got a spinnerbait, and he's got a swim bait. What do you think we're fishing for? Some of you got it right at smallmouth bass. To be specific, it's pre-spawn, spawn smallmouth bass. And we're someplace we've never been before, and that's always fun, man.
Yeah, we got 10 rods rigged. I love this early season smallmouth fishing. They bite on so many different things. It's a blast.
Today, Al and I are a short hop across the Canadian border in the Atikokan region of Sunset Country in the province of Ontario, Canada. We both love this area. The diversity of fish is amazing. You can catch northern pike, walleye, lake trout, crappie, perch, largemouth, and what we're chasing today, giant smallies. We will be spending a week at Camp Quetico. Barry Giles, the owner, calls it an ultra-modern facility. This guy started this resort when he was 22. Wow, I know what I was doing when I was 22, and it wasn't running a resort. He is a young man with a plan.
I started when I was 22. I'm originally from Eastern Ontario. I grew up in the fishing business. My parents owned a resort back in Eastern Ontario as a young kid growing up. When I turned 17, I sort of took over management of it and continued doing that for 5 years. Once I graduated high school, went to university. After 2 years of university, I decided that the office job wasn't for me and I wanted to get into the outdoor business. So when I was 22, my parents financially backed me and we came north and purchased Camp Quetico in 1998. Camp Quetico has 9 lakeside cabins and 3 motel-style units. They're like 1-bedroom cabins. We have a main lodge where you can option for the American plan, or where all of our cabins are equipped with full kitchens, so you can do your own cooking if you'd like a more leisurely schedule. We offer the guided packages if you choose to do a guided fishing trip. You can also do it yourself trip where you take boats and motors and just fish on your own each day. You also have the option of doing a partially guided package where you do a few days guided and a few days unguided.
Ooh,
Good one.
there you go.
That looked like a good one. Sounded like a good one.
Yeah, you did.
It ain't a bad one. It's like that other one, Dan. It ain't a bad one, but it ain't a big one. But it ain't a bad one.
Topper.
Yeah, yeah, much better. Much better. Come here, baby. A little bit better, huh?
Yep. This segment has been brought to you by Dan Lindner Automotive, and they want to encourage you to drive safe on the road and on the water.
You can't choose the weather, but you can choose to dress for it. Introducing Blackfish Performance Rain Gear. Utilizing patented eVent technology, this advanced membrane allows body heat and vapors to escape while offering 100% waterproof protection with an exceptional combination of waterproof and breathability ratings. Blackfish rain gear keeps you dry all day. Whether on the tournament trail or chasing weekend walleyes, choose Blackfish because you can't choose the weather.
For the bass that thinks it's a bulldog. For the walleye that thinks it's a freight train. For the tuna that thinks it's a torpedo. For the tarpon that thinks it's a tarpon. You need the mono that thinks it's a braid. Suffix Advance. New Advanced Mono with HMPE braid molecules for strength, abrasion resistance, and low stretch. Suffix Advance. The mono that thinks it's a braid.
At Mercury, we put everything we have into our engines and take everything we can out of them, and ended up creating the lightest line of engines in their class. Introducing the all-new Mercury V6 4-strokes. Light, quick, efficient. Mercury, go boldly.
For 70 years, you've known us for our high-performance rods. Now, it's time to meet our machinery. 32 pairs of hands. Touch, craft, and test each St. Croix rod. Overkill? Not with our reputation on the line. St. Croix, the best rods on earth.
At Mercury, there are no limits to what we'll do to make sure you have no limits either. Introducing the all-new V8 Mercury Pro XS. Light, quick, efficient. Mercury, go boldly.
This segment is brought to you by Sunset Country, Ontario, Canada. You gotta come visit.
Oh yeah. That dog will hunt.
Usually that topwater bite on these lakes this time of the year doesn't light up until later in the day, but I got to get my pliers here, Dan. That one I dumped just before, that was about the same size, a real nice one.
Topwater bite, you can never go wrong with the topwater bite, can you?
No, and you come into Sunset Country here in Ontario, these smallmouth bite on topwater baits all year long until fall when they go down in their wintering holes. Yeah, you know, they love topwater baits, and that's why so many people come up here to fish smallmouth. They love, you know, a lot of fly rod fishermen come in there, but it's so much fun because they eat topwater all season long. In fact, in many, when they go out on the big reefs in a lot of these lakes later in the summer, some of the biggest fish you're going to catch can be topwatering over 50, 60, 70, 80 feet of water. Dan and I were here a few years ago in a lake in this area, and we just pounded them, big fish in open water. You know, these lakes, the lakes that grow really big fish, they have a unique characteristic up here. They're usually bigger lakes with a big open water forage basin. Cisco's Tullabee smelt, and that's what grows big numbers of big smallmouth. You know, that's one of the keys. Now you got a lot of smaller lakes all over the place loaded with smallmouth, and they're crawfish, perch, shiner eaters. And you can get big fish, and you do get big fish, but those are the lakes you catch 100 fish a day, and you get 3, 4, or 5 really, you know, decent fish. But the real monsters come out of the bigger lakes that got that big amounts of open water forage.
I like it. See that little dark spot right off the back of that? It's almost silly because it takes no skill. You just drag it out there, and you feel like you're kind of a dope because you're not doing anything with the bait, but you're not supposed to. That's the trick. Bad Ted and Ed rig. Oh, there you go.
Nice one.
Look at it.
Nice one.
And hair.
Yep.
4 smallies.
You know, when you get up in these Ontario lakes, and whether you're fishing smallmouth, muskies, walleyes, northerns, whatever the case might be, everywhere you look running down the lake, you say, a smallmouth's got to live there, a smallmouth's got to live there, a smallmouth's got to live there. There's really a lot of water that is empty that looks good. These fish use seasonal areas of these big lakes. And early in the season, the key is basins. Shallow basin. Just take a look at this lake. This is a lake, just pretend this is the lake you're on. What do you look for where a big bunch of these smallmouths are gonna go early? This gives you an idea.
For this illustration, keep in mind we're talking about fairly large lakes with several different basins and basin depths. Here's a good example of what I'm talking about. Look at this lake. Pretty overwhelming, right? Well, let's just focus in on one area of the lake so you can wrap your head around the concept. Here's a good rule of thumb for finding early season smallies. Forget the deep and mid-depth basins. Go to the shallowest basin in the part of the lake that you're fishing and work your way out. Move fairly quickly, because these bass do in these big lakes, and they can be here today and gone tomorrow.
There he is, another one. Hairball.
That's a better one.
We got to go back
That's
through.
a better
We got to go.
fish. Look at
No,
that.
we got to backtrack, don't we?
That's a better, way better fish.
Yeah,
Way better.
yeah. Boy, that's such a funny bite to you. They just come up and kiss it.
Same old story.
The interesting thing, I guess, we were sitting there and Al and I had fished through a lot of these spots, and I had seen some fish come out and they just came off and went lazy, you know, swimming a tube, and a tube's a pretty subtle bait. You know, you'd think those fish would just come up and drill it, and sometimes if you see them do that, you got to even go more subtle, and there's nothing more subtle than a hair jig.
And
Ooh, this is a good one.
a little bit
I gotcha.
better, man. Nice
Ta-da! Success. Let me get that hook out of there. Look at that. Beautiful fish, huh? Healthy looking fish. You know, I think it's so interesting with how fast these smallmouth move in these lakes, especially the bigger lakes. And Al and I have been fortunate enough to fish the Rainy Lake tournament for 10 plus years. And we would come up there and fish for a week, or my dad and I would come up here and fish for 2 weeks straight. And it's fascinating how you can actually watch those fish move so fast in this spring time frame.
In 2003 and 4, my brothers James and Bill Lindner won the Fort Francis Bass Championship. And these 2 years, they were following the fish as they migrated from their spring locations to their summer haunts. And over the pre-fish period of 5 days and the 3-day tournament, it was amazing how far and fast these fish moved. Here's Jim to tell you.
You know, what's really critical for finding these fish is your willingness to move. It was really interesting during those tournaments. We actually found the fish early on in the back ends of spawning bays. These fish had just gotten done spawning, but in a matter of 3 days, those fish almost traveled 5 miles. One of their main forages was smelt in this lake, and those fish, as soon as they were done spawning, started moving out towards those deep water basins. Every day we went out on the water, we'd find the fish successively farther and closer to that open water. It goes to show you, you have to be willing to move with the fish.
This habitat, we come out of that bay. Just motor me down to that point. Just jump. I don't want to fish this dead water in between, Dan.
New spot. You know, the Lake Master chips that we have for the United States has been a game changer, you know what I mean? Just finding spots, and now Lake Master has a chip for Canada, which is just gonna open the doors big time.
I told you you should have brought a line counter, Dan.
A fish counter?
A fish, yeah, I'm sorry, a fish counter. The average fish that we've been getting this afternoon is quite incredible. You know, and you gotta understand, this is our first time, you know, on this lake, okay? So, you know, we don't know a lot of water. Yeah, you know, and I mentioned to Barry, he says, you want us to show you where to go? I said, no, we just love to explore. Here. We just love to explore.
Time to hit the lake because it's ice fishing season. And Fleet Farm has everything you need from novice to expert to help you reel in the record catch. Because right now, it's 14 inches thick, no sweat season. Flag up season. Improve your odds season. Now that's a trophy season. And of course, catch your limit and eat it too season. Fleet Farm is built for every season. Fleet Farm. Built for real life.
Fishermen are always looking for an edge. Lures, locations, the right equipment. Here's one edge mechanics have been using for decades to help engines run smoother and last longer. It's Seafoam motor treatment. Seafoam works to do a few important things exceptionally well. Cleans dirty engine deposits, lubricates critical engine areas, and helps to protect the entire fuel system from harmful fuel residues. To me, this stuff is like a miracle in a can.
Let the adventure begin with Lund's all-new Adventure Series. Check out the special introductory price on the all-new Adventure Side Console. Features include a center rod locker and rear jump seats. There's also an optional ski pylon. $1775 and $1675 is also available with a full windshield, or get the $1675 and a tiller. Lund's Adventure Series. Your adventure awaits. To find your nearest dealer or to get a free catalog, visit lundboats.com.
Hey, you just gotta visit Sunset Country.
The Edge is presented by these and other fine sponsors.
So, you know, the average fish, you gotta be impressed, Dean. We're having a heck of a nice average here. He said that everybody that comes up here predominantly, and they know to release all these smallmouth, and he's seeing smallmouth on all these lakes get better and better and better. Now that's intelligent fish management, and they know how to do it up here.
You see her looping
Oh yeah,
around?
I see her, I see her, I got her.
Oh, you're gonna go right across. She really wants to eat.
I got her.
You got her.
Yeah, ooh, nice one too.
So
Nice
bad.
one.
That fish
Nice
wanted to
one.
bite So bad.
I did the talon now, you're talon down.
Yeah, you'll notice Al's got 2 talons, mink coated talons on the back of this boat. And that's really crucial for when you get up on these big flats like that, and it'll pin you down. Even if the wind is blowing this way, you get those 2 talons pointed like this, it'll keep that boat straight. And when you get up on flats like this, if you take the Ultrex or Altera, the ones with spot lock on it, you're real shallow. It'll pivot around, you know, and recorrect you, but it kicks up so much at the bottom. These things, when you get in shallow water, you just lock down like a rock, and then you can just pick everything apart and then hopscotch onto a new spot, hunker down, and keep on going.
One thing that we always love about smallmouth is their willingness to bite on a lot of different presentations. That's why we got 10 rods rigged. But usually one will outproduce the others just because the fish will be in that particular mood. Here is a simple grocery list of baits that we have hooked up for smallmouth at all times, spring, summer, or fall. Number 1 is a Rapala X-Rap Pop. You can fish this fairly slow or fairly fast, and it's a great search tool. Fish can't help themselves but come up and take a peek. Next is a Rapala X-Rap in any bright color. You pick and you can't go wrong. Third is a Big Bite Suicide Shad rigged on a VMC Finesse Half Moon jig. This swim bait is lethal, and you can fish anywhere from the slop to the drop, and fish always eat it. Fourth is a Big Bite Tube, rigged externally or internally, it doesn't matter. You simply have to have one of these on at all times of the year. Fifth is a VMC Marabou jig. We have been using this for smallmouth for over 20 years, and many people still don't know the effectiveness of this ultra finesse presentation. It's hard to get more subtle than this.
He's fishing behind me with that hair jig and just smoking me. You know, it took a little while for us to figure out. We went through a lot of different baits. We learned hair jigging for smallmouth up on Lake of the Woods from Dave and Norm Lindsay, who were guides up there years ago. And it's becoming more popular now. It's taken 20 years to get to the public. but it is a method of magic when it's right. It is just amazing. And we learned that up north here on these Canadian lakes, and have seen it all over. I've seen it in Texas. I've seen it, I spent a number of winters in Lake Havasu and fished Mojave with it. And when it's right, yeah, you know, you're fishing through with every other bait under the sun and you don't get a bite. You'd say something silly, hey, they're not biting, until the guy in back of you is throwing hair going bam, bam, bam.
You know, one thing that's interesting about the hair jigs, and you think a hair jig's a hair jig's a hair jig, and they're all created equal. Well, they're not. This happens to be the VMC Marabou jig, and the nice thing about this jig is it's got a fairly thin diameter barb of the hook, or barb and shank of the hook. So that hook gets, it penetrates, drives home real easy. You're fishing with light line and backed off drags. So you got to keep that in mind if you're ever going to get hair jigging. Aren't they pretty? Beautiful fish.
What lies beneath can no longer hide. New Mega Imaging Plus uses high-frequency sonar to show you fish and structure up to 200 feet below your boat and 200 feet out to either side. No more secrets, no more guesswork, just a clearer picture of the world below, down to a fish's species and direction. Because more detail means more of this. Only from Humminbird.
You want more angling edge? Well, our Facebook, YouTube, and website are constantly being updated. It's like overtime of your favorite show. Check out the store with the brand new apparel. And purchase 5 DVDs at the incredibly low price of $25. That's 5 DVDs for just 25 bucks. Place an order at anglingedge.com. The Edge is presented by these and other fine sponsors.
I love it. I love it. Camp Quetico, Sunset Country, big smallmouth. They all go hand in hand. You know, over the last few years, this hair jig fishing for smallmouth has become more of a science, and a lot of manufacturers are making equipment specifically for this application. And this happens to be an 8-foot, 6-inch St. Croix Legend Tournament bass rod, medium power, extra fast action. And I got a Daiwa 2500D ballistic LT reel. I got 10-pound Suffix nano braid on here. This braid has a super thin diameter, allows you to cast light little baits like a country mile. And this is, I got 5-pound fluorocarbon. Suffix fluorocarbon is a shocker on here. And you rig up like this, you can take that bait and just bomb it. And that's part of the key to doing this. Get that bait out and away from you. There he goes.
Get him again?
Yeah.
Another good one too. Not a bad one. Well,
Hairball, dun 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 dun.
Good, nice fish, man. I got to tell you, Dano, this has been an amazing day. I mean, you talk about fun. Oh, this is my whole new favorite area. And you know what? we're going to a new lake tomorrow, and we're going to a new lake the next day. And he says every one of them has got loads of big smallmouth like this. Now that's my idea of a vacation getaway to paradise, man. Smallmouths like this, all kinds of different water, magnificent weather, and you got it all to yourself. Pretty sweet, ain't it? Hey, I got to take a moment to share something with you. A couple days ago, I was with my wife at a doctor's appointment for a little follow-up on some procedure that she had had. And when I walked in the office, there was my wife and I, one guy sitting alone in a corner, and one other woman. As soon as we got we got called in right away. We had an appointment and we got called in right away. We were in there for probably, at least a half hour, maybe 40 minutes. So then we're done and I come walking out, and we go out to my car, and this guy is standing outside by his car, a couple cars away from ours. He comes up to me and he says, "You're Al Lindner, right?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he says, "Hey, I'm up here, I live in Phoenix. And north of Brainerd, there's a lake called Whitefish Chain." And he says, "I got a place up on the Whitefish Chain. I spend my summers here and I spend most of my time in the Phoenix area. And I watch your shows, all of them, Angling Edge, Angling Buzz, everything you guys do. Love your work, phenomenal work." I said, "I got to share something with you." You know, he says, "I'm not a religious person, never really have been, but I really love your closes. I mean, they really touch me." Now, my buddy, that's another story. He says, as soon as you finish the fishing information, you come to your closes, his answer is "Hey, shut all of that bad words off." and I get back to him and I say, "Hey, you got to keep an open mind. There may be something here that you and I don't know about. And there's something that's happening. Maybe we'll learn something besides how to go catch another bass or a walleye or a crappie." So you got to keep an open mind. He's encouraging his buddy like that. And he said to me again, he said, "No, seriously." He says, "I really, really am moved by your closes." He says, "You're starting to really get my attention." And he kind of laughed. And I said, hang in there. The more you seek, the more you're going to find. He kind of laughed a little bit. And then, you know, he left after that. But that really moved me, that this guy, the way he talked. A lot of people are like, a lot of you that are watching this show, I hear this often. The closes, we're planting a seed. There is truth and power in God's word to change people's lives. And all of it is for good, all of it. I've been through the scriptures pretty much my entire life after God became real to me, and have learned so much, and the impact that the Word of God has had on my life has been incredible. I want to encourage you like I did this guy. Keep paying attention to it. You feel that little tugging at your heart, act on it. Maybe God is trying to get a message to you. Hey, from all of us here at The Edge, have a good, safe fishing season. We'll see you on the water.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for watching. And if you really like what you see, we got a whole lot more. So check us out at any one of these online outlets. You know, in fishing, there are good days and there are great days. Time is just a wink from the Almighty. We plan, target, rig, and play the game like everyone else.